Well, we're joined on the line by Samuel Aggrey, who is Secretary, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. Thank you very much for your time. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, this morning we are discussing the passage of the three new bills. There's one in particular which affects you directly. It's the excise duty bill. Is that the only one that affects your members and the kind of production you're doing?
Good morning to your listeners. I should say we have all the three bills affect the third one, which is the growth and sustainability bill, affect other businesses, which in effect will affect you too. If you're an employer, and an employee, it will affect you. The first one, which is the sustainable, the income tax bill, which directly affects every worker in this country. Because what it means is that the bar will be raised and the income tax on either you pay on your salary will then have to be jumped. So if you are paying 20 cedis, expect to pay around 28 Ghana cedis or 30 Ghana cedis. This is what it means for every Ghanaian worker. And therefore, we shouldn't let this thing happen. Because when it happens, it increases the cost of your employer for them to raise more money so that they can pay government on this taxes, so that you can be in business. And therefore, if they can, what they will do is to downsize the number of employees that they have so that the few that they will be left, they can accommodate to pay their taxes. And therefore, it will affect employment, it will affect your salary, it will affect your basic needs, because everything that you go to the market to buy will change. Before then, you come to the excise duty. Now, everything that is produced under the beverage sector, everything that is produced under the beverage sector, be it water, be it soft drinks, be it beer, be it water that you drink, and the fruit juices. What government is telling them is that they are going to increase for us to pass the cost to the consumer so that we can raise the money for them to spend. And I don't think this is the way we have to go. Because the bill that was put in before Parliament was fraught with so many loopholes. When if they have engaged with stakeholders, we will be able to also give our input so that certain considerations will be given. In this case, it was not done. It has been passed. So the disappointment in the parliamentarians who went ahead to introduce or to accept this bill into law is very, very, very a retrogressive bill that we shouldn't have even allowed it to happen. But we did that on a political line. And therefore, when you and I are suffering, these people that sit in parliament that will pay without tax money do not even care what we have to go through for them to survive as parliamentarians. And therefore, we should ask ourselves, why are they there in parliament? Is it there that they are there for us to pay them this money that we throw on them? Or they are supposed to seek our interest? So if the people say we don't want it, why do you still go ahead and pass this bill that will affect us negatively? What will happen is that everything that is produced under this excise tax bill will then have to be increased so that we can give government the money that they want, whether we like it or not. That is why we are saying that it's not a good bill, because from 2017, January, since this government assumed office, they've increased every tax component. Some of them have been reviewed, thinking that they have gone down, but rather, in effect, it's affecting us, raising more taxes, paying more for the same taxes that we are talking about. And any time that they want to raise taxes, the 20% that pay taxes constantly that they know, they still go to them for them to pay more taxes. And therefore, do you think these companies and those who are paying taxes within the 20% bracket can still pay more for government to consume. We cannot. We are saying that we have myriad of taxes on the table, that some of them must even go. Why do we have to import one container and we pay 17 different taxes on the same container? If you bring in 40-footer container today, you have to pay almost about 50,000 cedis to clear them. If you are somebody who is producing, you have to pay more for government to get that money that they want. So we are saying, if we are a country that we are serious about expanding our manufacturing sector so that we can export to bring in the necessary foreign exchanges that we need, then this is not the way to go. We don't collapse businesses to raise more money for ourselves. We don't collapse the very things that give us food on the table for us to consume as human beings. We tax them because the food must be cheaper for people to be able to buy so that they can save some money going forward. But unfortunately, if you look at this government and its essential of expenditure, they are not ready to concede any level of cutting their own expenditure. But then they keep raising the bar so that they can live the same way that they are living as ministers, as government, as parliamentarians. So therefore, if the money is dropping, they have to go in there and do that. But we can do that by cutting the number of government employees that we have. The political employees that we are putting in all the ministries and other sectors, we can take them off the table to save money for this country. We can reduce the number of government appointees that we have, the number of ministers that we have, to raise money for this government, so that at least we need not even to go to IMF. Because when you are in the house as a father and your income goes down, the best thing to do is to call your wife and the family, your children, to tell them this is what is going to happen, and therefore we need to cut down in certain areas. We cannot afford the things that we used to afford. But this is not the NPP government that we have. Government upon government comes and they increase taxes at the behest of their expenditure. Why should we suffer as Ghanaians? Because we have the government and we want to protect our democracy so that we can move forward. Moving into these areas, what it means is that you and I must live freely. We shouldn't be burdened with certain things. Government must cut this expenditure so that you and I also can contribute to the level that we want to go, but not in this direction. We are collapsing the manufacturing sector, collapsing businesses, and how would you raise the taxes that you want to develop? So we need to look at so many things that are not good on the table, as we have been talking about, so that at least business investors can come into the country so that they can also develop, raise money, expand their businesses, pay the necessary taxes so that we can move forward. And when we raise too much taxes, because if you look at the West African zone, that we say Ghana is the gateway. When you look at the taxes that we have on this in this country, we are the highest. We pay the highest VAT. We pay the highest of everything. You see, government is not fighting corruption to make sure that the money stays in this country. But I'm at a loss because the very people who are seeking to give us money, they know where these people have stolen our country's money, and they cite them in different banks outside this country. They know where they are. And therefore, what they need to do is to take those monies and give it back to the country and then arrest those people in every sense that they cannot do this to the poor people of this country. Because any time the taxes have gone up, somebody will either lose his money, lose his job, or he will become very poor. This is what it means.
And then that raises the direct question of how you cope, because the taxes have been imposed already.
Well, it has been imposed, but the policy has not come up for us to pay. What we are telling government is to reconsider and take this thing off. Otherwise, since they understand the only thing that they know is for people to demonstrate before they can talk, we are getting there. We don't want to do anything that the whole country will say, this is what trade unions are doing, and therefore they should reconsider. What we are saying is that you and I cannot afford. I'm not someone who earns 1 million cedis every hour. So therefore, I sit and watch. If the taxes are raised, it affects me. So does it affect the industries who cannot come and talk to government that this is the way we want to go, and therefore reduce it for us. So very often when they increase the taxes, they threaten the companies who cannot pay. That if you don't pay, then fold up and go. As I'm talking to you now, we have almost about, I will not put the numbers down, but we have companies who have closed down and left the country. We have lost almost about 2,000 workers.
2,000 workers?
Yes, I'm telling you. We have gained who have gone. We have the spa who have also closed down. We have other supermarkets who are not also able to raise meet the demands of the taxes, and therefore they cannot import. So they have downsized their staff, and some of them are even threatening to close down. So just imagine if one company closes down who has about 800 workers closes down. What it means is that almost about 2,000 people are losing those who are feeding them. That is what it means. Because if 1,000 people go, all these people have dependents. And therefore, if they lose their job, what will happen to the other dependents? You see? So, what we are saying that, if we look at the status quo of doing business itself, it has become very expensive in this country going forward. And this is what government must look at. Why is it that when we are producing, it's so expensive? So if it's so much expensive for us to produce in this country, what are we doing to bring it down? What are the things that we are doing that we are not doing right? That even when you import goods from outside, in spite of all the taxes, it's still cheaper than producing in this country. So we need to look at the fundamentals. We need not to look at these few people who are paying the taxes for government. We go to them, we pay more. All the 20% that we are paying taxes for this government or for government, what it means is that anytime they want to raise the bar, they look at these same people and they go to them and raise the bar, and it affects everything going forward. This thing that has happened today, I'm telling you, by next week Friday, by the time we come back from Easter holiday, you will see how the city will be running to save itself. It will depreciate the further. So this is not the time that we need to raise taxes when businesses have already lost almost about 60 to 80% of their investment.
This will affect city depreciation.
Pass taxes that will make them recoup the losses that they have made over the period. But because we don't care, this is the way we want to go.
Well, having said that, I guess you know why the government says it is doing it. Government's priority at this point is to get an IMF arrangement. And from the information minister, this is why they need to pass this taxes. Don't you understand the difficulty of government?
You see, when the VAT was first introduced in this country, that brought about the Kumi Prefu demonstration. It was the same IMF that proposed to government to introduce certain measures to raise taxes. What happened in this country? Who led that demonstration? It was this very government who said we cannot afford, so therefore kill us and bury us. It's because of that. Under his tutelage, when he came to power, from 12.5%, where do we see the tax today? Under the same person who was fighting against the same tax, which was 7.5. So if Nalado, the president, has any credibility to protect and defend his own cause, this is not the path that he has to put this country into. He must rethink and withdraw this bill. He was the very person who was fighting against mirage of taxes under the same IMF. Now you come to office under the same IMF. What have we seen? Taxes have doubled. new ones have been introduced under this same tutelage of this president. So we are saying we cannot afford any more taxes. When government cuts down the number of ministers that we have, it cuts down the number of political appointees that have been thrown into the offices, the ministerial offices. It cuts down in its own expenditure. We will have enough to run this country, and all of us will be willing to contribute because we will see that this government is willing to do ABCD, and therefore everybody, a Ghanaian, must come on board. Who will mismanage this country? It is not the cost of you and I. We have been paying our taxes. The companies have been paying their taxes. We get the needed money that we want. Every day we hear the SGRA saying that we have met our targets. We have raised more money than we needed. So where has the money gone to? So why do you come to us to raise more money so that you can then continue spending the way you are spending? I'm telling you, if IMF give Ghana this 3 billion, this money in the next 6 to 8 months will fizzle out. Because the politicians will take part what belongs to them and save it somewhere before we come to the government expenditures. How much are they? And how much are we raising internally? We are raising more than enough in this country. So if it's not because of the borrowing, how can we come back to the same people to say that we need to raise money and therefore this is what you have to do? Anytime the taxes are raised, you and I suffer. Somebody loses his job, somebody becomes poorer. So the IMF should rethink that the money that is given to these few people to spend, the larger community out there, almost about 29 million people, are going to suffer because we need to save 1 million people in government. This is what it means. We should be very careful the way we are going. What we are saying is that we don't agree with these taxes. Those who pass these taxes should pass their heads in shame. Because if their constituents are saying, this is not what we want, we don't want an increase in taxes, this should not be passed. But you sit in parliament, even when your people are crying as a parliamentarian, what do? You go and impose more hardship on them. But passing these taxes, what you have done is that people will be losing their jobs because anytime the thing is gone up, the income tax is gone up, the excise duty, the cost of products put in the market have gone up. What it means is that the manufacturer or the importer who cannot pay this money will then have to look at whether to downsize its staff so that they can accommodate. Those who cannot will then have to fold up and go, and will have more people losing their jobs. This is what we must think of before passing these taxes. So therefore, what they have done, they've been very disingenuous to Ghanaians, and they must bow down their heads in shame. We are not going to sit to watch this bill go ahead and affect us. You as a worker, you as a manufacturer, you as an importer, you as a consumer, all of us must come together and fight this bill until it's taken off the table. We must do that as our civil responsibility. We shouldn't allow the politicians to raise their income, to have more money, to spend more, because you and I are there to pay for them to go down, to go that way. We should not allow it. This is the time for us to stand up and tell them that no, enough is enough. We can't. Either you take it off the bill, take this bill off the table, or look at elsewhere that you can raise the money. We have 80% Ghanaians who are not paying money. There are so many loopholes that we can look at and then raise money from those areas. But we don't go to the same people who are paying higher taxes and impose more taxes on them. If you look at something like tobacco consumption, the World Health Organization has said the maximum a country can impose on this on tobacco trading is 70%. In Ghana, we are paying 16%. So what is happening to the 54% that we need to raise? So you go there and look at it, because if 10 people are sitting at the table and one person smokes or lit a cigarette, all the 10 people are at risk. But 10 people sit at the table and we drink 100 crates of beer, we will go home and fight our individual ailments if it ever happens. So therefore, if you look at the two and the excuses that they are giving, that because we are using sugar to produce these beverages, they must increase the taxes. So everything that is produced that has sugar in them, or concentrate, or a little sugar, or a little water, they are going to increase it. So when you see the water on the table, the cost is going to go up. If you have fruit juices that we produce, it's going to go up. If you have fruit juices that you import, it's going to go up. If you are a manufacturer, the beer, the sodas, the waters that we produce, everything is going to go up. But when it's going up, you, the consumer, is the one who is going to be responsible for it. So therefore, we need to come together to fight this bill until it's taken off the table.
And then that sounds like I'll be seeing Mr. Aggrey and the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana on the street soon.
Well, I would wait to hold on to that, but we will do everything necessary until this thing is taken off the table.